Grow up. This is the one term my parents every now and then they keep reminding me, and every time I'm equally puzzled, equally frustrated, and equally irritated that what more growing up is required on my part. On that note, hey everyone, welcome back to episode 23, and I, Tanya, welcome you all to another Saturday evening, another episode of our series 40 Days of Relationship. Now, growing up over here, it's not about our physiological growth, it's about our spiritual growth. They do not seek any more physical growth from us, but they are seeking some sort of mental or spiritual growth to take place. Now, spiritual growth is not automatic like our physical growth. It is an intentional commitment on our part, or an intentional promise, whatever you wish to call it. Each and every commitment, what we make in our life or what we choose to make in our life, has its own consequences, impacts, and repercussions. Therefore, we are advised from our elders, from our parents, that make your commitments very wisely. Otherwise, you got to be if you make half-hearted commitments, then it would lead to mediocrity and frustration and disappointments for rest of your life. So when you make a commitment, stick to it, okay? And having made a commitment to be living a life which is spiritually inclined, like I mentioned in the last video, a lot of efforts have to be required, because a lot of lifestyle changes, habit changes have to be brought. Now, that's a serious commitment for a long term, and it requires a lot of endeavor from our side. Once you have made that sort of commitment, once it comes from within, okay, because Bible says you need to decide it, you must want it, you must make an effort for it, and it should be persistent. Then only the spiritual growth or growing up, that is what actually the grow up means, takes place. Now, the spiritual growth here can be divided or bifurcated in two parts, that is work in and work out. How does this work? Okay, let me try to explain it with the help of an example. Work in is God's responsibility, and work out is our responsibility. This body has been given by us to God, but work out, that is to exercise daily basis, to work out so that we can maintain and preserve this body, that is our job to do. We have to work upon it. A piece of land given to a farmer, but working on that piece of land to harvest a crop, he has to do it. So working out, that is his job. Again, a box of puzzle, all the puzzle pieces are already existing, but working out to make or arranging it so that a picture gets formed out of it, it's our thing to do. Now, working in is always in God's hand, that is, He has given this beautiful life to us, but we have to work out so that this life is divine and spiritual. So work in has already been done, this life already exists, but to work it out, to make it a spiritual, a blissful, and a divine life, that is our job to do. Moving on further in the video. Now, all happens in the mind. I think before you think. It all starts with the mind. These kind of lines we have read somewhere, or we have heard from people. Okay, why every step or the first step of every growth or any change, it all starts with mind? Because we all are product of our thought process. We become what we think. Therefore, Bible guides us here with two steps. First, stop thinking like babies and start thinking like adults. Now, what is so great deal about this? Don't we already know this, that we should not think like babies, and that is the actual meaning of growing up, that we are not babies anymore, we are grown up adults. It's not like that. Otherwise, things would have been much more simpler. Now, here Bible, it tells us something. Babies by nature are completely selfish. They think only of themselves and their own needs. They are incapable of giving, they can only receive. That is immature thinking. Unfortunately, many people never grow beyond that kind of thinking. Don't get me wrong, I am not trying to offend anybody about having babies, or not like that. See, babies called here selfish in the sense they require a lot of attention. You have to be 24/7 on your toes to take care of them, to love them, to cater their needs, to be focused on them. Nothing should happen to them unintentionally, but yes, they are selfish. They will receive everything from you, and they might not be in a position to give you anything at that particular point. Maybe when they start speaking, when they become little older, then you get that joy, that happiness from them. But up to a certain age, when they are actually babies, all they need is your attention, your care, your love. So they are all, they're asking, they are not giving. They are in a position to receive so much from you. So that kind of thinking has been called over here selfish. That stop thinking like babies, which they are unintentionally trying to being selfish, and start thinking like adults. Now here, when it is said that start thinking like adults, it's about start thinking about others. When you are adults, start thinking about others. In what sense? We need to be 24/7 thinking about what other people do, how we can help them, or what is going in other people's lives, or something like that. No, it can be understood with Gandhi's talisman. I think all those people who had CBSE as their board, in all the NCRTs, the very first page, along with the preamble of India, there was one additional page. I don't know at that point in life we have paid attention to it or not, but there was always one page, and it was Gandhi's talisman, and it conveyed something so deep, but we did not give any care to that. Now, it says something which is life altering. Gandhi says, I will give you a talisman. Whenever you are in doubt, or whenever the self becomes too much with you, apply this following test. That is, whenever you are in any sort of confusion in life, whenever any decision, it becomes very difficult what to be done. Recall the face of the poorest and the weakest man or woman whom you may have seen, and ask yourself if the step you contemplate to take is going to be any use to him or her. Will he or she gain anything out of it? Will it restore him or her to a control over his own life and destiny? In other words, will it lead to Swaraj, the freedom for the hungry and spiritually starving millions? Then you will find your doubts and yourself melt away. This is something in every decision of life. When we are stuck, when we don't know to go left, to go right, to go forward, to take a step back, just think and apply this test. Whether the person standing last in the line, whether the person the most poor, the most weak, is going to gain anything out of the decision which I am making right now, whether this decision is of any sort of help to that person. When you develop this kind of thinking, then we have the term satisfied. Start thinking like adults, that is, start thinking about others. Others, that is the person poorest, weakest, and last in the line. When we step into the shoes of that person and then take our decisions, whether we'll be able to please that person, whether we'll be able to bring happiness, joy in life of that person, whether it will be of any help, whether emotionally, physically, financially, to that person. If that happens, then yes, we have started thinking like adults. We are mature people, and the spiritual growth or spiritual thinking has started in our life. I hope these two things which we have discussed today, the working out, working in, that is our spiritual growth, and second, to stop thinking like babies and start thinking like adults, that is spiritual thinking. So spiritual growth and spiritual thinking together, making a spiritual lifestyle for us to live for rest of us life. It may help you and give you a new perspective to think about. Until we meet in our next video, keep believing, keep having faith, and try to be happy as much as possible.